Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the keyonmillions.co. Here is my dashboard. Here is my media feed. Here is my merchandise, and we have new merchandise on millions.co. And here is my profile so that you will know it's me. So let's get into the topic at hand. We had three NBA games last night that were worth watching, and the first one was the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder, a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals, and another uh, it may possibly be another Western Conference final matchup. But who knows? We have a lot that to cover, and a lot can happen within the next 7 to 8 weeks. Because in, let's say, 2 months from now, that'll be the Western Conference Finals, and then 2 weeks after that, that will be the NBA Finals. So we have a lot to cover. So for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Julius Randle, 35 minutes and 32 points. Jaden McDaniels, 2 points in 16 minutes. Rudy Gobert, 2 points in 29 minutes. Dante DiVincenzo, 16 points in 30 minutes. Anthony Edwards, 19 points in 37 minutes. Bench production for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Joe Ingles, 0 points in 2 minutes. Kyle Anderson, 0 points in 12 minutes. Naz Reid, 6 points in 28 minutes. Rico Zarski, 2 points in 2 minutes. Ayo Dazamanu, 18 points in 33 minutes. Jalen Clark, 0 points in 2 minutes. Terrence Shannon Jr., 3 points in 2 minutes. Bones Highland, 3 points in 13 minutes. Mike Conley did not play because of coach's decision. And for the Oklahoma City Thunder, they just waiting for the playoffs. That's all. Because I'm going to get to the standings. They're still in the number one spot. Minnesota is number 6 right now. And as you can see throughout the last, I'm going to say, week and a half, the Western Conference has fluctuated. The teams 3 through 6, it was not like this 7 days ago. You had the Lakers almost in the play-in tournament. And now it seems like since teams 4 through 6, they are in a 3-way tie for 4th place. They are. But one thing about it is, over the weekend, the Lakers, they won the tiebreaker with the Denver Nuggets. So no matter what the Lakers do, they will finish ahead of the Denver Nuggets at season's end. So they will finish. Yeah, they will finish over the Denver Nuggets at season's end. So if the Lakers have to play the Nuggets, they would have home court advantage. So back to the first game at hand that I was saying. The Minnesota Timberwolves and Oklahoma City Thunder, Isaiah Hartenstein, 0 points in 21 minutes. Chet Holmgren, 21 points in 32 minutes. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 20 points in 33 minutes. Luguentz Dort, 3 points in 18 minutes. AJ Mitchell, 11 points in 27 minutes. Jalen Williams, 5 points in 19 minutes. Alex Caruso, 17 points in 22 minutes. Isaiah Joe, 20 points in 21 minutes. Aaron Wiggins, 0 points in 6 minutes. Cason Wallace, 4 points in 25 minutes. Jared McCain, 15 points in 17 minutes. Peyton Sanford, Kenrich Williams did not play because of coach's decision. And here's the team efficiency from yesterday's game. Now, this was a very, very entertaining game, but a little bit towards the end of the fourth quarter, OKC, they started to pull away. And that's what it's been ever since they went on this championship run, dating back to last season. And even before last season, when they went to the playoffs, they started knowing how to close and they know how to win. They know how to keep, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they play in a lot of close games, but a little bit towards the end of the fourth quarter, that is when they start playing good defense and they start making the other team they start forcing turnovers, and then that's how they win by more than 10 plus points. And I've seen that happen a lot of times throughout this year with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, I can say this was a few games this was a few games early in the season where OKC, they were leading by 6, maybe 7 points. And then all of a sudden, within the last 2 or 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, that 7-point lead became an 18-point lead. That is how quickly things can change with the Oklahoma City Thunder. So last night, when it comes to efficiency, Oklahoma City, they really wasn't as efficient as the Minnesota Timberwolves. But what really hurt the Timberwolves last night is the Timberwolves had 25 turnovers. Now, one thing I can tell you is, America, what do I always say? A team that turns the ball over 25 times in any sport, you're bound to lose. You're bound to lose. And Oklahoma City, they only had 7 turnovers. So that's plus 18 already. Plus 18 in the turnover margin already. Fast break points, plus 7 for Oklahoma City. Points in the paint, plus 14 for Oklahoma City. And also, largest lead of the game, 18 points. And largest lead for the Minnesota Timberwolves, 9 points. Rebounds, plus 2 for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm not going to say that they're not going to go anywhere, but they got to do better versus OKC, because it seems like against OKC, they're not able to. Well, OKC, I'm going to say this. OKC has their number. You know, when it comes to sports, there's always that one team that has your number. For OKC, it's the Spurs. For Minnesota, it's OKC. For the Lakers, it's the Denver Nuggets. So every team, they have their number. So one thing about it is, you see with Minnesota, they might need another. They might need another scorer, because Anthony Edwards is their top-notch scorer. But I believe that the Minnesota Timberwolves, they need a counterpart that can run with Anthony Edwards, and he can score efficiently. And Anthony Edwards can score efficiently, and the second player can score efficiently too, because Anthony Edwards, he's not going to be able to win a series by himself. He's not. And as you can see, the team as a collective, there's a bunch of defensive specialists on Minnesota. You don't have too many guys that can go and get their own shot like Anthony Edwards, like Dante DiVincenzo, when he has the ball in his hands, of course. So Minnesota, they are at some disadvantages when you see how their team is made up. They are at some disadvantages. So it was pretty much right here where OKC started to pull away. I'm just going to give everybody a good maybe 4 or 5 play highlights, and that'll be it. OKC up by 14. Anthony Edwards gets all the way to the basket. Now it's 13. And then all of a sudden, turnovers. Well, there's a block right there. A turnover by the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it was pretty much game over after that. Up by 15 with under 4 minutes left. The percentage of Minnesota coming back and winning was down to 29% at that point. Here's a three by Dante DiVincenzo. Three of his 19. And at the end, pretty much same exact thing. All she wrote, OKC hardly ever loses at home and is 116 to 103. And the Western Conference Finals is still ran by the Oklahoma City Thunder. The next game I'm going to cover is the Detroit Pistons and the Toronto Raptors. Detroit Pistons, Tobias Harris, 21 points in 33 minutes. Duncan Robinson, 1 point in 24 minutes. Jalen Duren, 20 points in 37 minutes. Cade Cunningham, 33 points in 37 minutes. Azur Thompson, 4 points in 24 minutes. Paul Reed, 4 points in 11 minutes. Ronald Holland II, 2 points in 13 minutes. Javonte Green, 8 points in 15 minutes. Carius LeVert, 9 points in 20 minutes. Kevin Huerter, 3 points in 14 minutes. Marcus Sauser, 3 points in 12 minutes. Tulu Smith did not play because of coach's decision. Danish Jenkins did not play because of coach's decision. For the Toronto Raptors, Brandon Ingram, 34 points in 39 minutes. RJ Barrett, 27 points in 39 minutes. Scotty Barnes, 14 points in 38 minutes. Jacob Poloti, 21 points in 36 minutes. Emmanuel Quickly, 6 points in 34 minutes. Bench production, Sandro Mashelevi, 8 points in 15 minutes. Jonathan Mogubu, 2 points in 3 minutes. Jamal Sneed, 4 points in 24 minutes. Jacoby Walter, 3 points in 12 minutes. And here's everybody else that did not play because of coach's decision. As you can see already on the list, I am not going to read everybody's name because you already see it. So, for the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Raptors have been a season. It's been a surprise for them what they have done this season. Let's see where they are. The Toronto Raptors, they are number 6 right now. And basically, the Eastern Conference, 6 through 10, it's up for grabs. Because the 6th team, the Toronto Raptors, and the 10th team, which is the Charlotte Hornets, only thing that separates them is 4.5 games. And you have 4.5 game lead left. With 15 games left. So anything can happen at the bottom of the East in this. So as far as the Toronto Raptors, we already know that their team morale and who they are led by, Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett. And I just think that Toronto, if the playoffs start today, Toronto, who would they be playing first? They would be playing New York. Now, New York, we already know that. I'm going to get into New York a little bit later on, but we already know that New York, they are led by their starting 5, and it seems like scoring production, the same thing with the Toronto Raptors, it pretty much tends to have a drop off when they go to their bench because you don't have many efficient scores from your bench. That's why it's almost like your starting 5, they have to play the maximum amount of minutes. That's why you see with the Toronto Raptors, I'm going to go back. That's why you see with the Toronto Raptors, their top guys playing at least 25 plus minutes a night. 25 plus minutes a night. Everybody that is on the Toronto Raptors starting lineup last night, they played at least 35 minutes. Brandon Ingram, 39 minutes. RJ Barrett, 39 minutes. Scotty Barnes, 38 minutes. Jacob Poloti, 36 minutes. Emmanuel Quickly, 34 minutes. And they only had 4 guys that came off the bench. And I'm just going to tell you that bench production last night for the Raptors was was very low. It was at a minimum last night. It was. And when you see their when you see their production, and when you see their statistics throughout the floor, you see where both of these teams, they had the same amount of turnovers when it comes to defense, 13 and 13. So these two teams were, I would say, basically are pretty much the same. Now, do both of these teams see each other in the playoffs? That remains to be seen, because you got Detroit at 1 and Toronto at 6 right now. And the largest lead of this game, it really wasn't a blowout, but the largest lead was 14 for the Toronto Raptors, and the largest lead for the Detroit Pistons was 6. Now, I'm going to go back to the standings, because the Detroit Pistons, whoever they play in the first round, whether it's Philadelphia or Atlanta, I believe Detroit, they will be able to beat both of those teams. And the Boston Celtics, whoever they play in the first round, whether it's Miami or Charlotte, they will be able to beat them too. They will be able to beat them too. So when we look at the dynamic for the Eastern Conference, the only thing that is hypothetical is who's going to come out of the play-in tournament. Because the top 6, I don't see nobody moving up or dropping out of the top 6. Now, we know that Toronto and Miami, Toronto, Miami, and Orlando have the same amount of wins. So there's going to be a little more playoff position and movement in the Eastern Conference before the season is done. That's just a fact. Also in the Western Conference, it's going to be like that too. So one thing I can say is, when it comes to the Detroit Pistons, like I say, it's all about what can they do in the playoffs. Now, see, the last few minutes of this game last night, it was very close. Detroit got it all the way down to a 5-point game with under 4 minutes left. And then all of a sudden, when it comes to the Toronto Raptors, they make timely shots. There's a timely shot right there by Brandon Ingram. And as y'all can see, Brandon Ingram again, he made a timely shot. Toronto was up by 7 at this point. Then here it comes. Down, R.J. Barrett, another timely shot. See, the Toronto Raptors, they win close games, but they make a whole lot of timely shots. Here's another timely shot by Brandon Ingram. They went up by 10. So as you can see a trend right here, and that is how the season has been for the Toronto Raptors. And basically at that point, it was 119 to 108, and that was pretty much the game. The last game I am going to cover is the Golden State Warriors and the New York Knicks. Now, I expected the New York Knicks to win this game, but I also expected the Golden State Warriors to make it as close as they could, and they did. But I was watching the entirety of this game, and the Golden State Warriors, they led this game for 85% of this game. 85%. And as you can see from the starting lineup with the Golden State Warriors, it's always been iffy. Mevy Leons, 2 points in 20 minutes. Guy Santos, 20 points in 32 minutes. Quentin Post, 22 points in 35 minutes. Will Rackard, 5 points in 29 minutes. Bench production. Omer Yurt 7, 0 points in 13 minutes. Gary Payton II, 19 points in 28 minutes. Nate Williams, 2 points in 10 minutes. L.J. Cryer, 3 points in 14 minutes. Pat Spencer, 9 points in 23 minutes. Kristaps Porzingis, DeAnthony Middleton did not play because of coach's decision. New York Knicks, OG Anunoby, 14 points in 29 minutes. Karl Anthony Towns, 17 points, 31 minutes. Josh Hart, 7 points, 31 minutes. Mikal Bridges, 7 points, 21 minutes. Jalen Brunson, 30 points in 36 minutes. Bench production, Muhammad Dwaria, 3 points in 11 minutes. Mitchell Robinson, 4 points in 17 minutes. Jordan Clark, 14 points in 22 minutes. Landry Shamet, 10 points in 27 minutes. Jose Alvarado, 4 points in 15 minutes. Jeremy Sloan, Dylan Jones, Ariel Hakaporti, Tyler Collett did not play because of coach's decision. Now, and I do mean now, I can get to you New York Knicks fans. Spike Lee, Stephen A. Smith specifically. Let's see where the New York Knicks are. And the New York Knicks are third in the East right now. I don't see the New York Knicks dropping. I see them staying right there at the number 3 spot in the East. Now, I know that the Boston Celtics are tied with the New York Knicks for the 2nd spot in the East, but the Boston Celtics are the 2nd best team in the East, but they are the best team in the East in my eyes. They are. And I've been saying that for the last month and a half, and I am not going to waver. I am not going to waver because I could see a scenario where the Eastern Conference Finals could be the Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics. And I'm going to tell y'all something. Who do y'all think going to win in a 7-game series if it comes down to Detroit and Boston? Because you got a Detroit team that's very inexperienced, that has only, with this bunch, outside of last year, that has only made it to the playoffs once. And you have the Boston Celtics who have been to the playoffs multiple times within the last 8 years, and they won a championship just 3 years ago. Well, excuse me, just 2 years ago. So the Boston Celtics still have championship charisma, and the Detroit Pistons, they are trying to learn playoff charisma and trying to navigate through adversity in the playoffs. So, Detroit Pistons, I got to see what the Detroit Pistons can do in the playoffs, but everything else when it comes to the Boston Celtics and when it comes to the New York Knicks, we pretty much know what the New York Knicks have as a whole. As we all know, as we can see, as far as this game, the Warriors, they were leading by 21 points, but they didn't have a closer last night. And that's one of the reasons why the New York Knicks, they had a chance to win this game. Even when Golden State was up by 21, I'm saying the Knicks, they still gonna win this game. Because Golden State, they didn't have no other scorer outside of Guy Santos. And as you all can see, I'm going to just skip right forward to the final 2 minutes of this game. This is where the game really started to get interesting. As you can see, it's 104 to 103. Josh Hart, he gets blocked. Jalen Brunson goes down the floor, 104, 103. Now it is 106 to 103. And as you can see, Brandon Podziemski, he gets down there and he scores. Here's Brandon Podziemski. That was the one shot where they should have took their time on that. You see? See, I'm going to go back. See, there's only 28 seconds left. Now, you really want to take your time with a shot like this, or you want to get to the basket and get fouled. But I do not like that shot, a pull up three with time winding down and you hit bike iron and you really don't have another chance. And see, this is what, see, as I was saying earlier, just a few seconds ago, see, this is what he should have did the time before. You get it back down to one, and you won't have to be playing the foul game and trying to prolong the game. And see, look at this. See, it was pretty much a bad play from the start when it comes to the Warriors. And it seemed like that is how the Warriors season, it's been a microcosm of their season where you have people not being able to close, but they're still there in case you need them. As you can see, because you basically don't know who is going to close for the Warriors night after night. And like I said, the Warriors, they are in a space. Well, no, they are in a situation right now where they have the same amount of wins as the Portland Trail Blazers, and they have one fewer loss than the Trailblazers. Now, one thing that I can say is the Golden State Warriors, if they want to stay in the they gonna make the play-in tournament no matter what, because I don't see the Grizzlies doing nothing, and I don't see the Dallas Mavericks doing anything. So Golden State, they not gonna get any higher than where they are at now. Only the worst case scenario for the Golden State Warriors is they end up in the 10th spot and play the Phoenix Suns in the play-in tournament. That's all. That's all. But as far as Golden State, I don't see them going deep into the playoffs, because Golden State, once they win the play-in tournament, they'll face either OKC or the Spurs. And do anybody see Golden State actually getting one win in a series versus Oklahoma City or the Thunder? I don't think the Warriors are going to be able to get one game. I believe that it will be a sweep no matter who they are playing. No matter who. So, my finality and one last thing that I want to say is this is the current setup for the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. And this week we also have March Madness. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing March Madness coverage. We have plenty of games to talk about and to get into, and there will be a form of speed predictions that I am going to do. So it is going to be a wonderful show tomorrow. And with that, those are my reactions to NBA Sunday in the NBA. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the KeyOnMillions.co. Here is my dashboard. Here is my merchandise. We have new merchandise already in the store. You can get it, and it will be shipped right to your door. All processing, shipping, and handling is free. Here is my media feed for all of my different segments. We just did a recent interview last week, and here is my profile so that you will know it's me. And one last thing, remember, the key is always on time.